It's 5 o'clock, I call this work session to order. Looks like we have a lot here to discuss. I don't know if we have time to really go through everything. So I would like to start off with the DNR grant applications because their timely submittal is necessary. Scott, would you like to give us some heads up on that?
Certainly. If we go for the DNR grants, they're due April 1st, and they're usually requirement for public hearing prior to submittal. So these are the 3 grants that were not funded last year. I know it's real brief, but at least an idea if council wants to pick one of those 3. I think if you're looking at trying to fund all 3, $100,000 will obviously take a good cut into the general fund budget. And obviously we haven't even started the budget formulation process yet, so who knows what council is going to direct the funding towards in the next couple of months. But I think probably, you know, in my ideal world, the restrooms at Funnel Field are probably the most critical, because I think I've mentioned before, the ones at the baseball fields have not been used for a number of years. They've been using porta-johns because they're in that big of a disrepair. G Park would be, again, adding a new play structure, fencing along the back and a parking lot. The Goodrich Park would be a new swing set, fencing around the splash pad, and security cameras. Those are kind of, I mean, there's more to it, a little more details, but those are the primary focus of those 3 parks. So we're just looking for council to steer us in one direction, or maybe 3, so that we can start prepping the grant applications. Because you also need letters of support from, typically we get them from the chamber, the schools, and any other interested organizations. We go through the disability network also, because that's always worth a few points.
I have one question.
Yes.
The restrooms for Funnel Field, would that be the softball restrooms and
Yep.
the Little League field restrooms?
Yep, they're running about $100,000 a piece.
Okay. I just
Yep.
wanna
Yeah,
make
for
sure-
both of them.
Make sure it was for both and not just for one.
Yep.
Okay.
The ones by the softball fields are still usable, but the ones up at the baseball field have been shut down, like I said, for a few years.
That one at the softball or the baseball field, what that unit we're looking at the pocket park work, do you think, or not? Versus a brick and mortar?
Well, there's been a bit of a switch with the pocket park bathroom. Further research showed that the loo was almost expensive as brick and mortar. And obviously it's less winter-proof. So we're going with the brick and mortar up there at the pocket park. So, and I don't think, given their more remote locations, I think we want to have a more secure building than a loo would provide at Funnel Field.
So do we have sewer and all that right there?
Oh yeah, yep, everything's readily available. Sewer, water, electricity. All we got to do is drop in a couple of buildings.
Does it affect our possibility of getting, if we only go for one, is it a better possibility of getting to one, or does it matter if we go for all 3, or what?
Not necessarily. I think all 3 of these are well under, because they always have minimum grant applications and maximums, and I think the maximums are normally like $1 million. So I don't think it really would affect us negatively if we went for both of them.
Could they approve one and not the other 2, or something like that? Is that? Would they more
DNR's
likely?
never done that. They pretty much have always been yes or no's.
Okay.
I know from a usage standpoint, Goodrich Park is one of the highest used parks we got, and as far as, the cameras and all that stuff. Funnel Field, I would say, would be second. We just did something at G last year, so I would say if anything, if we were gonna delete anything from this year, I would lean towards G Park. Go for the other 2, but that's, just throw that out there. Otherwise, I'd love to see all 3 of them, but I like doing stuff in parks.
What does the fencing for Goodrich Park entail? The splash pad, or is there more to it than that?
Nope, that would be around the splash pad.
And that's for geese?
To keep the geese out, is that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be enclosed. At least I don't believe it's gonna be enclosed, because we don't wanna start putting gates once you start getting more mechanical. But it will minimize geese. It'll also provide a little higher degree of safety, so that kids just don't sprint, especially towards the road. There'll be something of a obstruction in their way, so that maybe the parents can catch them before they get too far.
I don't have any problem supporting Funnel Field and Goodrich Park as written, but, and I agree, I know G Park is probably high on the list of the people in that neighborhood, but I don't think it's a very highly used park other than that neighborhood, so I don't, tell you the truth, till 2 years ago, I didn't even know we had a park there, so. That's how much I knew about it, so.
There's somebody that built a shed or something with a concrete base that looks like it's right up to the property line, very close to it. I don't know.
They're not, and that was part of the fencing, because we do have some of the property owners kind of creeping into the park area. So the fencing would stop that.
Right.
I think we ought to just go for all three and see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. If we can go for all three, I'd like to go for all three. But I understand what you're saying about.
All right.
Okay. We're done with that. Let's go up to deer culling. What's the thought here?
The thought is we did okay this year. The thought is we could probably do better. Scott has talked about it as well. Right here. I think we ought to drop the acreage down to probably 3-4 acres, and put stipulation if we go that small, make it that they have to be elevated. So I don't know. Is it already elevated? Okay.
Yeah.
So 3 acres, yeah, would be. And I still would like to see us kind of work on adding city properties that are available. I mean, I looked at a few. I mean, there's a section off of Warner Street, behind the houses on Benston, out by the DPW garage. There's a few spots that we could probably get away with, and we could do like what the county does with the wastewater. You put in what you want, and we draw names, and that's who gets it for this year. So.
Section it off somehow.
I don't know if it would be big enough to do that with, because they're pretty small spots. But I mean, even if you put one guy on it or one gal on it, whoever a hunter on it, I mean, it would be just in limits. I mean, it's pretty easy. I mean, hunters are for the most part, at least for my group, that one's we abide by everything. But I guess there are always bad apples, but. I think that if we want to get what we want to see with this, I think we need to make it smaller so we have a better, more hunters out there. It's 2 does and 3 bucks. I mean, that's good, but I tell you, I've got 6 deer in my yard every night, so it's not working.
I saw 14 in one yard
That's like
on Lewis the other night.
Yep. My trees are all chewed up again this year, and so.
You gotta figure if the deer herd that lives in the city is 30 to 40 deer, you gotta figure 30 of them are does,
Yep.
and every one of them is gonna
At
have a
least
fawn.
one.
Yeah, so, I mean,
Yeah, maybe 2.
taking 5 deer isn't even controlling it.
Yeah, another spot that we own is the wellhead. That'd be a great spot at Peterson where it curves into Lewis. There's a ton in there.
But is there a tree big enough to put up an elevated stand?
Yeah, we could figure something out.
I'm not so sure you need elevated stands, really. I mean, you shoot a bow.
Well, I mean,
If you shoot beyond 40 yards, you probably,
my concern is.
anybody that's hunting
Yeah,
a bow is probably not gonna shoot.
Yeah, no, I'm just considering from a safety aspect is your arrow is going down at an angle versus horizontal. Some of those bows and crossbows nowadays can shoot 100 yards.
Isn't bow hunting through the state, isn't it an automatic rule? that you have to be elevated?
You shoot from the ground.
Oh, you can shoot from the ground?
Yep.
I thought some told me that
Some people can't get in a tree.
all bow hunting was,
Nope.
had to be elevated.
Nope.
If you reduce the acreage from, 6, right, down to 4 or to 3, any idea how many more properties that will?
Not offhand. I know we looked at the 6 acres, and there's a map in the file somewhere on that. I'm not sure singularly, probably not a lot more, because so many of our parcels are whatever 60 by 165 is, not even a quarter of an acre. So you would have a number of more opportunities for smaller lots to combine.
It'd be nice to your neighbor.
I like 3. I'm thinking too, you know, we wanna bring down the number of deer in the city limits. I'm wondering if we shouldn't have something where you gotta shoot a doe before you can shoot a buck.
That would be another thing I forgot to add on here, that would be, as far as I'm
You know,
concerned.
that way
Yeah.
you're actually doing something
Yeah.
to the next year's production.
Yep.
Because a buck can go 3 miles, one buck, and then
Yeah.
handle the chores. And it take a while, you get wore out, but
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
you know what I mean? And I'm not sure if we are set up for the 150-yard distance. Is that what it's supposed to be from the house? Because I look in the regulations, and that's for guns.
That's for
But
rifle.
they don't say anything about bow
Yeah.
hunting, how far you have to be.
Randy, you
I
know,
think
right
they
now,
do.
you got idea?
I do not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think there's a regulation on bow hunting. I read the thing is over a couple times, and there's nothing in there that
I
says
think it's just,
you have to be 150 yards.
I think we have something in our ordinance.
Yeah, I know, that's why I think we maybe ought to change that, because that's 150 yards with a bow. I mean, you got to go like this with your bow to shoot it that far.
I was thinking it was 150 feet.
Well, now that would be more reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's 150 yards is the rule for guns, for gun hunting. You know, but I think that with a bow, you know, 150 feet makes sense, that's 50 yards.
Are we, this ordinance, does this cover just normal deer hunting season?
Normal deer hunting season runs from,
October 1.
no,
December
it's before
30.
that.
Well, there's early
There's
season
Liberty
for
Hunt,
doe.
there's like 4 different hunts now, late doe, so.
There's an early doe.
There's an early doe, so I think it's like August
No, there's nothing in August.
or September is the youth hunt.
Is there,
It's September 13 and 14.
Somewhere is the youth hunt, so.
Yeah.
It would start then and run through probably late January, I think is that last.
January 1 is the last day for
Yeah.
late doe season.
does our ordinance cover allow the entire year?
I'm sure it does.
Okay, so,
Well, you'd have to follow DNR rules with that, we couldn't see DNR rules.
The early
So it would
youth
be,
hunt
so
is-
it would be from youth hunt to the end to the last doe.
the early youth hunt and the early doe hunt are both 2 days each.
so we're coming into the
One weekend.
end of the ability to do this?
What section?
Yeah, it's done for the year.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's
we're
all
done
done.
for the year.
Yeah, we're done for the year.
So,
110.
We got
That's why I
plenty
wanted
of
to
time
get
to
this
I'm out.
process started.
How's that?
is anyone opposed to
Animals?
going forward with smaller parcels?
3 acres.
I'm in favor of it.
I'm
Yeah.
neutral on it, I don't know.
Oh, yes.
So it always raises speed limits in town, that would be more efficient.
Put a plow on the front of everybody's vehicle.
I think we have a consensus that we're okay with shortening up the,
Do we wanna work on adding city property to the thing, or do we wanna wait and baby step it?
I would prefer to baby step it.
Okay.
Let's see if,
Yeah.
What would be the main objection to increase in including the city property?
Yeah. What is it?
Well, I think
Liability or?
There might be an increased level of liability. I also think the wells, we have a wellhead protection program, and we try to discourage people from being on our wells. That's why we've got a gate by the football field. There used to be a group that would go up there and watch the football games. Certainly, I don't think any of the parks. I would have to strongly recommend against that. But if what we could do is I'd like to talk to Brian Armstrong, our Public Works Director, and see what his thoughts are. One of the concerns would be if we open those up and somebody's out there hunting, our guys and our employees can be there any time of the day. And they may or may not know if somebody is actually actively hunting when they're up there to check a well or do some maintenance out there. So that would be.
How much land does the city own north of the cemetery in those woods there? And
But
in
that
the gully.
that one guy's property is pretty tight in there. You might be able to get one guy in there, but.
Oh,
And I know they're in there because those new
Yeah.
trees we planted were all rubbed to heck last year, so I know there's a bug running around back there.
Yeah,
The other question, like on Steve's part, I don't think we own the Bishop property. That's not, is that DU that owns that, or is it Muskegon Conservation?
we actually own it.
Okay.
Not all of it. There's a lot of the property that was retained by the bishops,
Okay.
as well as Hecama, basically the residences and
Yeah.
the structures. More of the dry land area.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
acquired
Yeah,
all
we
the
got
wetland.
stuff. All right. So, yeah, I was thinking back there too, I wasn't sure where they'd exact, that would be another spot, but. The thing as far as what Scott was saying with the liability though, I mean, the state allows you to hunt at Duck Lake State Park. You don't know when people are in the trails or anything else, I mean, a hunter, it's an expectation that you could get somebody walking through. I've been hunting since I was 13 years old, and I can tell you I've had numerous people walk in and, you know, and just.
You killed one yet?
Ain't got one yet. You either say, you either let them go, just let them walk through, or you whistle or whatever else, and most people will, scoot out of the way, but.
could there,
It's part of, and quite honestly, somebody walking in sometimes is beneficial because you'll get the deer that are laying down to hop up and walk away from there, and they will walk right in front of you. So there are benefits to that as well. So
is there a problem with a deer wandering off and going across somebody's property and dying in their
there could. I mean, it's one of those things that happens. I mean, it happens out of the city.
The landowner can
It's
say,
just
no,
The landowner
I'm
the
not gonna
landowner
let
has
you."
the ability to say no when you go knock on it.
Mm.
But then again,
True.
who wants to, as far as from my perspective, the landowner who'd want a dead deer on their property
Exactly.
that, unless they've got a license. I mean,
Right.
but
Alright, well, it sounds like we have a consensus of, being okay to reduce the required size. Let staff look at that and come back to us.
And I'd still like to see, just for my own information, what would be, as far as city property, what would be available, potential, maybe for next time around.
Okay, alright. Let's move to, school drop-off.
Another pretty quick one.
Yeah.
Driving through the other day down Elizabeth Street, and on Slocum Street, during certain times of the day, there's an inordinate amount of people, picking their children up from school. I understand how that happens and why that happens. The problem I have with it is clear vision from safety and security. You drive through, especially if you're going eastbound, you pretty much gotta creep out, and it depends on who's there. Some of those people are awful close to the intersection. The other issue I got with it is they're 2/3 off the road and 1/3 on the road, and they're taking that road edge, which is, as far as funds for roads go, we don't know how much money we got to spend, and I think that's busting up the road
We
edge.
just redid that road.
Yeah, prematurely. So there are options. I think the school, looking at it the other day, took a drive. The entrance to the middle school is at least 3 lanes wide, or 3 car lengths wide, car widths wide. You could put those people over there. They could line up towards the back and then go across the street, pick their kid up in the car, and just keep driving. I don't like what's happening currently, and it's an accident waiting to happen, quite honestly, so.
Plus it's tearing up the road.
And it's tearing up the road also.
I've had a lot of issues where if you're coming from west to east,
Yes,
you
absolutely.
know, I mean, you can't, the nose of your vehicle is already out in the
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
out in the one lane that's left
you're pretty much
before you can
committed.
even tell whether you can go the rest of the way.
And that's Slocum and Spring Street, and they almost make it to Colby. I mean, I've seen them parked in the tennis court parking lot, so.
I mean, if we're gonna make the school do something different, I mean, they have the lane along the side of Ely now. The
Correct.
parking lane, drop off lane, whatever you wanna
Yep.
call it. And instead of letting them go the rest of the way down Elizabeth, have them go around in front of the school, which is a lot less used road, I guess.
Sophia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There are parking spots there, yeah. They've done that in the past too. I still think that, yeah, I think that would be an option, and the other one would be the entrance egress to in front that goes around to the back. So it would go from Elizabeth Street over to Slocum. And like I said, you could park them double wide there and then just go across the street, put the child up, and away they go.
I mean, we got, you know, there's a problem at the middle school with the people picking up their kids too, but, I mean,
We gotta
Well-
keep in mind that this is just 20 minutes a day.
Or it's more than that.
I mean, this isn't a,
you know, some of them start lining up.
They line up and sit there on their phone.
Half hour,
for
40
40
minutes.
minutes because they want to
It's
be. on the
definitely
phone.
one of the biggest wastes of gas I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I don't even use drive-throughs because I don't like wasting the gas. But, I mean, that's just me, but, I mean, you know, you got 80 cars sitting there and 70 of them are running. You know, and they're sitting there for 20, 30, 40 minutes. Just a, you know, it's just a big waste, but,
There are better alternatives.
you know, I guess the other thing we could do is from, what is it, Sophia to Slocum, where they're parking on the side of the road there. See if the school wants to pay for that all to be paid. And then they're all the way off the road. I'm sure they wouldn't want to spend that kind of money, but, I mean, that's an alternative.
I think we need to reach out to the school and ask them to
Come up with a solution, or at least some
at least discuss with us.
I mean, you know,
We're not gonna solve this tonight.
yeah, I mean, you go along at the middle school where they do the same thing at the middle school. They come out of the parking lot and, you know, and go the rest of the way down, you know, heading back towards Alice Street on Elizabeth. And they're all parked, you know, as soon as you pull in off of Elizabeth into the middle school parking lot or entryway or whatever you wanna call it, from there all the way around the corner of that building, there are signs everywhere that says it's a fire lane and you're not allowed to park there. But they all line up there every day. You know, and everybody parks there during sporting events too, but that isn't what the sign says. The sign says it's no parking because it's a fire lane. But we overlook everything, so.
I would reach out to the school, because it seems like this is what schools do these days. They have the,
Right.
I was mentioning earlier, I mean,
Nobody wants to walk or ride a bus.
I have to admit, to be fair, that when Shoreline Elementary was built, my kindergarten daughter was not deemed, she was supposed to walk all the way down there. I'm like, no. So I think, you know, maybe just a different world we live in, you know, and I would pick her up, but I don't remember it being quite so chaotic, or just so prevalent, you know, but I would reach out to the school and see if maybe other schools are, they need to come up with something.
Okay, well, I think we need to at least start a dialogue with the school. Okay. Senior Village, Kenny.
Well, hey, I sent you ideas, and Scott presented them to you. Just some ideas. I have lots of ideas, lots of times. And here's my rationale. One, I couldn't find anything out about the senior center, so I was glad Scott at least found the website. Now, I have been known to use Google quite a bit, so I don't know why I didn't come up with it. And maybe they just put that Scott, I don't know. But I was glad to get the information, because I looked at their Facebook, I mean, I didn't even know it was on the board anymore, you know, so. And I do feel very strongly that if you're giving taxpayer dollars to a nonprofit entity, that you know who's on the board, you know what their mission is, their annual budget and things like that, just for anyone. I'm very familiar with the community ed programs, I'm very supportive of them. But here's a little bit of my reasoning. One, there were virtually no resources in the White Lake area for my dad in his later years, none. I ended up helping to take care of him the last couple of years. Now, granted, when you get to a certain age, you know, there aren't going to be resources for you. You're going to be a nursing home, or we had 24/7 care. But there was a time when maybe the senior center might have been an option, but he's like, I don't want to go there and sit around and have coffee with guys. I mean, that was just the majority of what was taking place there. It seems like there's a little bit more. That just was not a service for him. And, you know, obviously it is for other people. I'm a senior myself now, so I'm thinking about what services there are. I know that I just found out I can use the VAT for free. I didn't know that. But the thing is, I'm not going to use it anyway, because I like to walk outside. I take a walk outside twice a day, and the only time I walk inside is on my treadmill now, but, you know, if it's icy. So, now granted, that's just me, one person, but I guess we've got nearly 700 seniors. Nearly a third of our adults are seniors, almost 700. And I would like to know a little bit more about what those seniors' needs are. You know, I think they're the best judge of what their programs and services are. So I'd like to do this novel thing of just asking them. You know, and maybe I'll end up concluding that the choices that have been made in the past are the appropriate choices, but I'd like to kind of take a step back and say, well, hey, what are the things that you would like to see? And what I provided are just some ideas. I think ideally, I'd like to see us set up maybe a short-term senior advisory committee, pull in some seniors and also find a way to reach out to them, which is really tricky these days, because I think that's the other thing. How do you get to seniors who may not be techie, you know, reading emails or on Facebook, looking up websites? You know, I think taking a look at that, I just think, you know, we might find some gaps. We might find some needs.
Is that something that you'd like to spearhead?
Absolutely.
I'd love for you to take that on and run with it.
Okay.
So Tanya, a couple things that, when I went through my CIT training for, the county, Age Well, and,
Yes.
the other one is
Does Red Cross still do it?
no, Age Well and, what's it, Senior Resources?
Pioneer Resources.
Senior Resources.
Senior Resources.
They've got a ton, and they've got money, they've got programs.
Yeah.
They gave me pamphlets coming out of my ears when I went through that class, because we went to all the different, they set up in the gym when we went to each one of them and they explained what they did and everything else. There are so many resources available for people, they just don't know.
Well,
And that's the issue, the stuff is there, it's available, it's just not known. And that's the problem, is it seems they cast the net down there and they forget, but I'll take it here.
Well, and it is fragmented. I called senior resources for my dad, and
Yep.
the only option was I could bring him into like a day program in Muskegon. You know?
Yeah, and like I said, they forget about us up here.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether the senior center can marry more with Age Well or something like that, or either of those organizations. But when I went through the class, I talked to them too, and I said, you guys are missing the north end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like the thing we see every week about the churches that are participating in the food stuff. It's all Muskegon churches. There are no White Lake area churches. The North Muskegon one doesn't. No, it's
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
It keeps popping up, and it's Muskegon Heights. Occasionally you'll see North Muskegon, the church in North Muskegon. We've got a ton of churches up here. None of them, I don't understand whether they don't want to participate or if they aren't asked to participate. I don't know. But again, I think the North End is getting forgotten.
I've seen them at the one down by the four-way stop on Mears in the parking lot there. I've seen them do it there before.
Lebanon?
Yeah, that's something different than, I mean, this is,
Oh, that's different.
I don't know if it's Mission Prairie people or one of those like that, one of those big organizations in
Yeah.
Muskegon. And
Oh.
like I said, I don't see them helping out the North End. We had, like Tanya said, I mean, we got a ton of seniors up here, so.
We really do, and we're getting older, all of us, by the minute.
I'm wondering, a lot of these services they have, rides and different things, home repair, all this stuff. Is that all income based? Do people have to be,
I don't know.
they have to be in a certain,
Some of it is and some of it's.
I have to
Some
look.
of it's state and federal grants, and they have the money, and they just need to spend it. I
well,
mean,
yeah,
They've got, the one lady told me that they've got more clothing available for people than she can handle, and I said, hey, bring it to where I work.
Yeah.
I mean, quite honestly, when they get out, a lot of them don't have clothes.
Yeah.
Start a clothes pantry at the facility.
because there's
I
a-
would think it'd be easier to pick out a couple of these programs and hop onto them, like Jeff said, rather than start something out from scratch. If you can attach to something that.
That's-
Or give them a call, maybe they'll come up here.
Well, I think, absolutely, I think we should partner more or find a way to partner more. On the other hand, I'd like to see what our seniors say, first of all.
Yep.
Because I think that's, this goes back to my idea of good government and civic education. This is one way to show that we're being responsive to people who live here and we're using dollars like maybe they want, but also I'd love to see, if at all possible, more local partnerships with the schools, bringing the older people together with the young people. You know what I mean? If there are those options, So, but yeah, there are a lot of good programs out there, but I'd be happy to spearhead something, and certainly that was just a whole brain dump of ideas.
I think this council would support your efforts and certainly be willing to assist you in whatever way they can.
yeah, there's like 3 pages of services here from the county senior millage. And, I'm sure that there's people that live by themselves that wouldn't mind having a home delivered meal.
Yes.
Now, that's what I'm wondering, is that available to people up in the White Lake area? Or?
Did we have meals?
Usually Meals on Wheels, we used to be up there, I don't know if it's still functioning or not.
And that millage is up for renewal this year. So that, all of that, a lot of that could go away without that millage.
Right, but it's in there now, so.
It's in there now, but
Who is it available to,
Is it, do you want me to lay out kind of a process? Or
I think
just do it?
do it, well, I would think, like you say, find out what our seniors want. That to me is a good start. And then try to match what they want with what is currently available.
And make it more available?
And make it more,
Okay. I could be happy to do so.
How do you get a good cross-section of opinions?
That's a good point. It's gotta be a variety of ways.
Put a little survey together and
Yes.
stick it in with the water bill next time.
Yeah, that would be great. Would you wanna help me with that?
All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Volunteers.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's move on to appointments. Mr. Brown, has your name?
Well, I have my name on it from before Scotty even wrote the first draft, so.
We can share.
I've gone over the second draft and I still have some, things that I think, in my opinion, should be tweaked some, but, I don't know if you wanna jump in with anything that, or if you just want me to start blabbing and what? I mean, the first thing in the first paragraph, you know, terms expire on December 31st. My problem with that is on years when we have new council seats, new people seated on the council, they've only been to two council meetings, and you're asking them to approve people, you know, to be appointed to these committees. I'd like to see, I don't know if it's something in the charter or if it's something that has something to do with, you know, anything with fiscal year or anything like that, but I'd rather see it be like June or July or something like that all these committees, you know, expired. That way, you don't have anybody that's brand new that doesn't really understand what they're doing and they're just saying yes because everybody else said yes.
There, if I can address that just briefly, there are a couple of state requirements and charter requirements as to when the appointments take effect. But for the large part, December 31 was more of the way we've done things. And we've done it so primarily we've grouped all of them together so we don't forget any of them and say, oops, we were supposed to appoint these members to the boards a couple of months ago. But other than, obviously, charter requirements would require a change in the charter and the state law we have to comply with. And I forget which, I think there's only two that are actually controlled by state law and charter.
Okay.
The only thing is though, then, well, I don't know. Then we might have some people making appointments when they're going off too, which is not a big deal, but I don't know, it just seems, I don't know, I think I kind of liked it because it was starting fresh with the new council. Is there a way though to move it, like to at least, like, you know, February or March to either that or back up, or at least make sure the process is, you know.
I'm thinking that, like maybe the last meeting in March makes sense, and that's kind of what Councilman Hillebrand suggested in her letter here too, early spring. Which kind of makes sense, you know, it gives you time to, because several of these positions come from the board, and if they're new people, all of a sudden they're on the board and this might be new to them, and then they're stuck on this committee and they're like, whoa, this is, now I gotta learn all this. And, you know, if you have a little time to think about it and look at it and have a few months to prepare your mind for it, you know, before you get on a board, that might, and then you might decide in between that time that maybe I do want to be on such and such a board, you know, if you're on a council and it's supposed to be a council member. I think March. And
I don't have any problem with March. I guess the biggest problem I have is with it being December 31st.
Yeah, that's
because of the new council members not having any experience yet. That, you know, just about any other time other than November would be better.
Yeah.
Could we do it such that there was like city government 101, like I've mentioned before, and I'm sorry, Scott, this sounds like a lot of work, but you could.
That's what I'm here for.
But I think it'd be really helpful if you did an overview of the different boards and explained them, and as part of how city government works. Like I said, I really like the in-person, you know, going to different departments, but I think even having for the new council members, but maybe just the whole board, just kind of going over, this is city government, here's the different boards, how they, you know, react, that give people a chance to ask questions, but during that first quarter sometime, make it a regular thing.
It's doable.
I was going down the list thinking, I would like to know more about some of these. I mean, it's a good little description, but I'd still kind of, I think a good presentation would help me as well.
I guess the next thing I would have on this to bring up is I still think that we need a maximum of how many boards you can be on. And I said it before, and I'll just say it again, that, I don't think we're not diversified if we have, one person sitting on 7 boards and, I just think, I know you guys keep throwing out there that there's not people knocking down the doors to come and wanna be on these commissions or boards or whatever, but we do our due diligence, which is part of what this is, of advertising properly that we have openings and what the openings are for and what the committees are about, and we educate some people a little bit more. I don't think we're gonna really have a problem where if we put a maximum of 3 on the amount of boards that you can sit on.
I'd support that idea too.
If nobody else has anything more on that, my next thing that I had in my notes was, I still think, the automatic removal at 50% or below in attendance is still, to me, is way unacceptable. I think it should be a minimum of 60%, and I would prefer it to be 70%. I mean, I don't know any job that you could have. I don't care whether you're volunteering or not. I don't know any job that you can have that you can only participate in 50% of the time and keep the job.
Keep in mind, it's not a job, it's a person volunteering their personal private time to serve their community, so.
And they're not serving their community if they're 50%.
I'd like to see that whatever board has that choice. If the person is only able to contribute 50% of their time and they're doing a good job for the board and the board is functioning, I don't wanna see micromanagement by the council on individual boards. Just as though I don't like the idea of the council saying, we don't want you on too many boards because it doesn't look good. If that person is doing a good job on multiple boards, I'm grateful for their service to the community.
But you have other people that want to be on the boards, that can't get on the boards because there's somebody else that's already there. And you're only allowed to have 1 or 2 council people per board. So if you have one person that's on 7 boards, you got 6 other council people that can't be on that board.
I don't think we have competition with council members wanting to be on boards that I'm aware of.
I don't think I do agree that every council member should have the option of being on some board. I think that's important. I'm not sure I'm crazy about coming up with an arbitrary number of 3 versus 4 versus 5 vice versa. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. And as much as I know, I feel like if somebody wants to show up a lot, I'd like to have them show up a lot if they're gonna be there and serve their community. On the other hand, if there are people who want to serve on that particular board, then I think they should have the ability to put their name in for it.
As it is right now, it seems like there's a pretty small, it'd be nice to have a larger pool of opinions on these things, because right now the majority of people are on 2 or 3 boards, it seems, and one person's on 4, and if you get more people involved, you're gonna get more opinions and maybe some good ideas from somebody that hasn't been on the board before. As far as a council person getting on the board, I think it should be one that they really want to be on. If we're not turning people over, there's not going to be a lot of opportunity to do that.
I still, I wanna push back on the turnover. It is not easy to get people to fill all of these seats. You know, it's not as if there's people lining up. And if there are people who are interested, that's another thing. And if there are people who are interested in, beating down the doors and not getting on, then yeah, I think that's an issue.
I think there would be,
Promoting the idea of getting on
exactly, I
board.
think there'd be more people interested if they knew more about the positions, like if they say, well, this board only has 6 meetings a year, and I can probably do that. You know, or if they say, well, I gotta go to meetings 3 times a month or whatever, then they're gonna say, I don't really wanna bother with that, but, or if it's a 4 meeting, and I noticed one of them is 4 meetings a year. Well, shoot, we'll probably
We're
just about
talking about
anybody
a
if they knew.
system that has worked for a long time. I mean, you were on council for 12 years, you were on council for 12 years, you were on council for 12 years. How many other boards did you serve on while you were on those councils, on the council? I mean, it hasn't been a problem. It seems to be, now we have a problem with the system that's been functioning for quite well. And I certainly support greater public involvement in all aspects of the city. But it seems like we're trying to micromanage a system that's been working pretty doggone fine.
I would say that right now the system is rated towards keeping the same people in the system all the time. For instance, right now, 22 out of 22 seats that were terminated in December were renewed with the same people. You correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I'm wrong. And I think that's wrong. These people, a lot of them at least, I think the majority of them didn't even have to fill out an application.
They were all asked if they wanted to continue to serve.
They were asked, but they didn't have to fill out an application. If there were people, if everybody's required to fill out an application, then we would end up probably with a better choice, a larger choice of candidates.
I don't think so.
You
You don't have people lined up saying, I wanna be on it. It's
I don't
always
know
been
about-
difficult trying to find people to serve on boards.
I work
Always
with
has.
volunteers, I've worked with volunteers for over 30 years, and I'll tell you, we, set up this big public advisory council for White Lake in 1991. We had specific representation from the entire community, different, City of Montague. About a year and a half, it was down to about a half a dozen people who shepherded the entire effort through, and we just decided that at the very least we would go out and make sure people weighed in during decisions. But it's just, I mean, I've worked with volunteers for years. I still would like to go back to this, city government 101. You want to learn more about city government, come to a workshop, come to a meeting, find out more. And I think,
I think that's a great idea.
to me, I feel like that's a better way, because then somebody might say, oh, this LDFA, I really think this is kind of something I'm interested in. But I also feel like this is being, in a way, negative to the people who are on the boards, and it's not fun. It's not, some of these meetings are really boring, and you gotta show up, and you gotta be there, you gotta read the materials, and so, I think if people knew more about it and were interested, I'd be all for it, but I feel like we've been lucky to have a lot of people fill those positions.
We've had an application process for how long? I mean, it's been
2 or 3 years now.
Yeah, and it's not like we've got a ton of applications in.
I think part of that's education though. People don't know that there's an application process to be on a committee.
But that's a responsibility, Scott. I mean, I
Where
talked to,
they,
It's the city's responsibility to let them know.
but people who come to meetings find out that there are positions. I mean, people who show up at the meetings.
People that come to meetings.
Yeah, exactly. These,
I
yeah.
I
We're
mean,
missing out on
you
the
got the
great-
same 6 people that come to council meetings every 2 weeks.
But the thing.
Other than if we have some kind of a special item, it's just,
That's my point. People, it's not our fault that people are not coming to meetings.
You look at when we do the budget work session, or not the budget work session, but the goals planning session. When we do the goals planning session, we put out there, hey, show up, we're doing city goals. For the most part, we have a bunch of people show up.
Yeah.
I mean, and again,
Issue oriented.
that's an issue oriented, it's a short term, hey, it's tonight, I can show up tonight, I can put my 2 cents out there, and I'm done. We're good. And then, you know, I've done my civic duty, I've showed up, and that works for that. I mean, it's just like the committee you're looking at. You're gonna get a couple of seniors in that committee, and they're gonna give you your information, and we're good, we get what we want, and they're gonna go off and do their own thing again. I mean,
But I do think if we did some more specific issues, like maybe there's a big issue in the community, and also I like City Government 101. I think that would be kind of exciting to put on for people, and more work for Scott, but I just feel like that's a better way to encourage people to participate.
I talked with a lot of people when I was running for the seat, and everybody says the same things. Why aren't the roads fixed? Why don't we know where the money is going? And why is there no transparency? Why isn't there more transparency than there is? It's almost universal. People don't know when the money is being spent until they already see something going on. A lot of people are not, well, people are wondering where all the money, they don't understand TIFA for one, you know. There's a lot of people that are bothered by the promenade and the money that went into it. There's a lot of people that are bothered by what's, you know, the West Colby Promenade project that's going on. The ones that know about it are not real happy about it, it seems. I think we miss out on a great opportunity. I don't know what all the problems are with putting more information into the water bills. Everybody gets a water bill, right? And like you can advertise the school, the class. You can advertise the position, you know, put something in there about the boards that are open, when you apply, how you apply, things like that. I think that's a great opportunity to help educate the people. You know, the newspaper doesn't work very well anymore. Websites do it. They're easy to use and educational.
You have to do all of them, yeah. But can I tell you something that, I shouldn't say this, but in all the 12 years I served on council, we never had one person at our budget hearing.
That what?
We didn't have one person at our budget hearing, and I used to encourage people to come, because people would ask me about budget issues, and I'd say, we're in the process of it, you know, and we have a budget hearing, but a lot of that is people are intimidated, you know, and not comfortable always, you know, coming and speaking up. But I think there are ways that we can get more people in, and I think issue areas, I think, are important, like what Jeff mentioned. But I think, you know, I'd rather not tinker a whole lot more with it and just go back and try to pull people in to engage them a little bit.
So we should advertise our YouTube. I mean, they can watch these things, and probably if you look at the number of views on there, it's not very high. And then when we have these meetings that people are interested in, where a lot of people show up, maybe just make a statement at the beginning, hey, by next year and whatever date it is, we're going to have all these openings and appointments for all these different boards, and anybody that's interested should contact the city office and get an application and put their name in. I don't know. Somehow you got to get it out to people that these things that are out there. And I don't know. I would hope people would be more interested in.
that's the thing, Steve, is they gotta be interested.
They have to make the effort.
And you know, Tom said, I understand, you know, I went out and rattled doors and everything else when I went to council. It's easy nowadays, too easy nowadays for people to sit and gripe about everything.
Sure.
And not put forth the effort to fix. They want to be part of the problem, but not be part of the solution. I mean, every chair in here could be full. We could have a waiting list of people trying to get into this place, but we don't. But it's easy to get on Facebook and some of the other ones that say, why isn't the City of Whitehall fixing the roads?
Yeah.
So Tom rolls up and knocks on the door and, you know, half hour later, he finally was able to go to the next person, you know, I understand that. You can't drag people into what they don't wanna do, but it's easy to sit there and just type away as you're watching your TV and going and doing that, you know? It's okay on time of your life, but.
We're
And just
We're
one,
getting out of
one
time
more,
here.
one more thing is, I do respect the fact that people are very, very busy, they have very busy lives, and I do think in general, most local government is not really well versed in getting out to get people in. So we're not really the only ones there, but most little city governments or townships, they just kind of do their own thing, and if people come, they come, and I do think we could be doing more, and you had a good idea, Steve, about the front, how much in the meeting or
Yeah, and based on the number of seniors in the city, they ought to not be too busy.
We need to open this up for public comment at this point. So if there's any member of the public who would like to step forward, give your name and address.
Yeah, Mark now is 1421 Ward. Couple things. As far as the deer call goes, I told you guys in the fall, I asked a lot of people, and I got the same answer. We like to watch the deer. Okay? Open up some city property, maybe coordinate with the school, and they would allow people in their property. I asked them, they blew me off. But if you talk to them, they might allow it. Howmet's got a ton of property. You could contact Howmet, see if they allow some people in there. A couple ideas. Second item. I've been fishing a lot down at the Goodrich Park. Need a outhouse down there. Getting complaints. Us old guys that are down there fishing. You gotta go, you gotta go.
Yeah.
Alright. I think the city could afford an outhouse. Since the
Not enough
facility's
trees,
open.
is
Alright. And thirdly, I applied for a position this fall and didn't get considered. So, just want to say that.
Trying to call.
Good evening, my name is Tamara Horn, I live in the City of Whitehall. I was gonna mention, at the top of the hour, you were talking about the DNR grants. And there was mentioned that there's going to be replacement of some of the bathroom facilities. And anytime you're replacing a roof or a building, I would highly recommend considering that you should put in there adding solar panels. I mean, I looked down the budget for consumers energy this month for the city, and it was over $14,000. Generally, solar panels pay off in 7 to 9 years, and return on investment is pretty good there. So I would consider for Goodrich Park and Funnel Field if they would be a good option for adding that in the grant. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi everyone, I'm Pat Taylor. I am a Montague resident, but I work for business on Elizabeth Street, Jack Brown Financial Services. And we have a problem with the school traffic, and our clients cannot access our parking. We cannot leave. I have tried to go out and talk to them politely. We purchase signs, please do not block our business parking. I've called the police. I also contacted the school twice to see if we could coordinate some kind of communication going home to the parents from the students, and we're not getting anywhere. And just last week, Jack went to park and couldn't get in his own lot and got out and was confronted by a very angry parent. So
You guys
it's
are
a
at
real,
Spring Elizabeth?
huh?
You guys are at Spring Elizabeth in the old Beacon building?
Yes.
Yeah, we're at 204 South Elizabeth.
Yep, okay.
Yep.
I don't know if you were here, I think you came halfway through the meeting.
I did, because
Because we
this
did
Jack
speak
can't
about
be.
that.
Yeah, I know, and Jack can't be
Okay.
here tonight, and he just asked me to
Okay.
come and have a voice for him and his business,
Oh, good
because
to do.
we have clients coming and going, and it's really not right, so I'm just letting you know. Thanks.
It is an issue that we are aware of, and we need to resolve it. All right. With that, we're adjourned for this meeting. It's 6 o'clock, and I call this council meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
You know, and I don't know, I was
I
thinking.
pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming tonight. First up is the approval of the agenda.
I'll vote the approval of the agenda.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion on it? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those say no. Agenda is approved. Next up is the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any questions, discussion?
I have two questions on accounts payable. Both on page 2. HydroCorp meter sales, biannual service program. Can you
Yep,
give us
we-
a little info on what that is?
Yep, we hire them to go through and verify any and all cross connections. It's a state requirement so that people comply with or have abandoned former cross connections. Primarily sprinkler systems that are hooked up to the household system and not properly connected.
Okay. And the other one is Michigan Municipal League payroll audit. Can you explain to me what that is?
Yeah, every once in a great while, Michigan Municipal League, we do our workers' compensation through them, and they'll do an audit. And they found some irregularities. We've kind of sent it over to the attorneys for a second opinion. But it's basically contractual employees that either did not show proof of their own personal workers' comp or failed to respond. So we got hit with a one-time $4,000 fee. So we're taking internal corrective action so that that doesn't happen again. If you're going to work for the city, as you know, if you're not an employee, if you're a contractual employee, we're going to verify that they all have their insurance. We've always done it for, the street projects. They always have to name, show us proof of insurance and name the city additionally insured. So now we're going to have to go down, I guess, to all levels for contractual employees.
Is that a regular fee to them, or is that a penalty for?
That's a penalty. Well, it's not really a penalty to us because we pay insurance for our workers' comp. This is an additional insurance fee for those contractual employees that, had they been hurt on the job, we might have been liable to cover their workers' comp. So this should be a one-time fee.
I have a question on page 3, Playhouse bond interest.
Mm-hmm.
Is that part of the regular Playhouse income and outgo, or is this something separate from,
No, the bond that the city took out for the renovations and expansion was all covered by donors.
Yeah.
There are some that are defaulting, but we haven't seen that as being a critical issue right now, so it's not basically covered by revenues at this point because it's all donor covered.
So this doesn't come from the Playhouse fund then, which basically.
Well, it does. We have a separate fund for the bond, which includes those donations that come in. So it's actually a restricted revenue.
Okay.
So the people that donated,
Mhm.
if you'd like to donate $10,000, Steve will restrict that and just pay off the bond.
Thank you, Steve.
It's just an example. Could have been any Steve.
How much interest would I get?
A lot of interest
A
from
lot
this
of interest
council.
from you. I got a question on page 5. I think I know the answer to this, but you've got 20 rows of postage. Is that, we've probably got a meter, right? Pitney Bowes machine or something, or is that required to be accounted for separately because it's for election?
There's a number of questions in there. We do not have a postage machine. We did for a while and found out that it was actually more expensive.
Okay. I found that out too when I.
Yeah. And probably, I don't know if this is routine or if this is Brenda.
That it's probably mostly paired out because we will be reimbursed for some of that from the state because of the new law requiring return postage paid by state. So
Aren't you glad you don't have to lick them anymore?
I'm so glad they're self-sticking.
Speaking of that, do we have to pay? We pay for this sharing of this election place down in Mesquite. I forget what it is. But is that covered by the state too, or not?
It is currently because of a grant. So all of that cost got covered by a grant for this first one at least. And I'm sure most of the cost is up front because of the first one, the equipment that we had to buy. And just going forward, it will be mostly labor, election inspectors. So
this is a one-time thing by the state. So from now on,
we
We
hope
have
that
a
it continues. I don't know.
bill.
It may.
okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor of the consent agenda, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say
Yes.
no.
No,
Consent agenda is approved. Next up, messages from the mayor, council, and city manager. City manager, please.
I have nothing this evening, Your Honor.
I have nothing except for I would like to invite folks' participation in the senior effort.
I would like to see community involvement in that.
Yeah, anybody in the audience?
Can't hear what you said.
Oh, I'm sorry, and you know what, this was mentioned, but I will do that, I'm sorry. I'm not sure if the mic is on. I just would like to invite participation in this effort to gain more input from seniors. So is that helpful? You can hear me back there?
We can hear you. How do we go about that?
I'm right here.
She's gonna do it.
She's gonna do
Well, you can get Anya's information from the city clerk where she can give you her email and contact information and you can contact her.
Or you can
Is
grab
that-
me right after.
Is
I'm
that
not
what you're looking
grabbing
for? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I have two things. I'm gonna ask permission to miss the next, I'd like to be excused from the next meeting because I've got a vacation that I'm going on that was scheduled a year. So that would be, I don't know what the date of that next meeting is.
It's the 27th, which is the day of the election. So
I will move for your, for you to be excused.
Second. All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, say no.
No?
One question: do we meet on election day? That usually gets changed, doesn't it?
Let's see.
I think we planned on it at this point because this room will be available. We'll be being down there. I don't know how much I'll be available, but yeah, I guess that's a
So
just got you guys.
I too would seek excusal from the next council meeting as I will be out of town.
Can we have a council meeting with only 4 people?
We can have, that's a quorum.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
Because Deb's already pre-excused for the next one.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Nobody else can miss.
We can do some real stuff next. Some real good things.
No, nobody's at 50% yet. So
Okay. So,
I'll move that one too. I'll move for
I
excuse.
second.
moved and seconded. All those in favor say yes.
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 Say no. Okay.
Hold on.
Yes.
I got another thing to speak about.
All right.
I attended the TIFA meeting 2 weeks ago, and I don't know if everybody knows that stands for the Tax Increment Finance Authority, and they have, they're in charge of a special fund, part of the tax that the city collects. And they're spend it well, I'm having a hard time here. They spend it primarily on the downtown development. That's what the fund is for. But what bothered me at that meeting is that I learned that there's a pocket park that is being developed. It's off Colby Street. It's between the Bell's Furniture Building and the CatchMark Building, and including a bathroom that they want to put in there. They want to spend $330,000 on it. That's the current estimate. To me, that's an awful lot of money for a pocket park. It's going to be quite small. I mean, that's what they are. They're a small park. And I've made it a point to go around and look at a number of pocket parks in other towns. And what I realized is that most of the other towns that have these are towns that don't have an abundance of parks like we already do. And I feel like it's my obligation to mention that to people, that they know about it, and you know, that's my contribution to being transparent. I've talked with a lot of people. A lot of people wonder why they would want to turn an alley into a park, especially for that kind of money.
You know, Tom, we had several downtown redevelopment committees when I was on, and the pocket park was one of the options that came up, Scott, wasn't it?
Correct.
They're not parks as you're thinking about our city parks, you know, like G Park and some. They're parks to support traffic in the downtown, so to kind of improve the downtown.
Essentially a gathering.
A gathering, yeah. So that was the reasoning, yeah.
Right.
But it does
My
seem
opinion is-
pricey, yeah.
Right. It's an awful lot of money for what it is, in my opinion. So I just want to throw that out.
I'm in agreement with you. I think it's a total waste of money, but that's just my personal opinion also.
I agree.
All right, Jeff.
Nothing tonight?
Scott, is there anything else you'd like to discuss, share with us?
You're talking to me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll talk to the other Scott. Have we gotten any word back from Peckett Hills as far as where they're looking at one with this 50-50 on the handicap parking spot?
Yep, Brian and I met with John and Jack late last week. And I think Brian and Jack are coming up with, I think basically where the food vendor truck sits right now, that will be a location. And I think Jack even got a couple of price estimates on it, so we're looking to move forward with that.
Okay, you had thrown that out after the last meeting that, I think in an email or something
Yes,
like that.
I did.
And I just wondered,
There
I
was,
hadn't heard anything more about it, so I
Yeah.
just wondered whether we had any word on that. Thank you, that's all I have.
Steve.
I have nothing tonight.
Okay. With that, we will move on to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to make a comment? Please give your name.
Hi, Kim Hardy, 1391 G Street. The pocket park at $330,000 seems like a lot of money. I understand it's a separate group. I don't totally understand how that works, but the perception within this community is not favorable. I ask you to reconsider, because right now it's paved, is it not?
That's correct.
So it would all have to be torn up, and whatever, maybe downtown people will use it. We have many parks there that are not well maintained, and the roads are deplorable. And we also need more lights in this city. So I'm asking you to please reconsider this expenditure. It's too much. And as far as people understanding things that are going on, it is difficult to get any information in this town. We do not have a local paper. And I think your idea of putting this kind of information in the water bills is excellent. Your responsibility is to let us know, as our representatives, is to let us as citizens know what's going on. And a waste of $300,000 is outrageous. And I'm hearing other people behind me agree. So I'm asking you to reconsider that.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else? If not, we'll move on to old business. I don't believe we have any old business at this point.
No, sir.
Okay, next up, the year 24-25 budget schedule.
I'll make a motion to schedule May 20 as city council budget work session and May 22 as a tentative city council budget work session. So 2 days. Right? And Tuesday, May 28 is a public hearing for the fiscal year budget 24-25, all starting at 6 p.m.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes, the 20th, I will be here, the 22nd, I will be on vacation. I was wondering if there's any way we could move it to like the 16th or the 15th or the 20th. Just back the one up a couple of days and just do the final on the 20th versus the 22nd.
You want to make a motion?
Well, I figured I'd talk to you guys first.
You saying you
So-
can't
so
be
I will
there the
be-
22nd? Or you can't
Yes,
be
I
there
will
the
not be
20th?
here on the 22nd. The 20th I will be available, and I'm also available on the 15th and the 16th, the previous week.
The
So-
22nd, we've always done a tentative one in case we don't get through the budget at the first meeting.
Okay.
You can certainly amend the schedule if you want, or just
Okay,
get serious on the
if we're not
20th
just
and
tentative, if we don't make it.
stay
through,
late.
We can stay late, okay. Yeah, 22nd I will be out of town.
So we really only need one of those 2 days. Is that correct?
I think in the past, we've been able to get through it in one day. It's just good to have a backup date scheduled if need be.
That's what
I think that's kind of.
And just confirming with Will, if we don't get through it on the 20th, we can reschedule for sometime other than the 22nd for a follow-up or a second one.
So, okay, so are we still going on the past goals for this budget, or are we working? I know you're shaking.
Me, I guess. Trying to get a list of the goal stuff together so that we can probably squeeze in a goal session prior to. Because I think that's always been the focus of where the city staff makes recommendations for budgetary expenditures based on those goals.
So for public transparency, that day, May 20th, is where this council will sit down and discuss where the dollars are going to be spent. So, and a lot of it, I'm sure, is going to be based on the budget that we're working on off of now. I don't anticipate huge changes from expenditures or direction that we've gone, but the public is certainly invited to attend those meetings and give their opinions to us.
What time are those meetings?
It will be at 6 o'clock. I'm guessing if there's a large group of people who want to come, we can move it to the garden room. But otherwise, it'd be 6 o'clock here on May 20th is the first one, where we will sit down and start talking about where we want to spend our dollars. And there is copies of the current budget available to you at City Hall. At any time, anyone can come to it,
It's online too.
and it's online. So that information is out there on the city website. Okay. All those in favor of this schedule for budget talks, say yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Okay, we're approved for that. Monday, May 20th, Wednesday, May 22nd, if necessary. and a public hearing on May 28th, and that public hearing is basically after the council have sat down and said this is where we wanna go with it. It's an opportunity for the public to come once again and give their opinions and desires to this council. Alright. Next up is resolution 2407, Spruce Point Drive Addition. Scott, would you tell us about this?
Yeah, you've already accepted the street from the group that did the development up there. So basically, you accepted the property. What this does is this puts it on our Public Act 51 map, so that we can start receiving revenue from the state of Michigan for maintenance.
We'll make a motion to approve resolution 2407.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Sittenga,
Yes.
Kabala,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Salter.
Yes. Resolution 2407 is approved. Next up, resolution 2408, community fund request.
I'll make a motion to authorize a request from the Bloomdahl Fund to eliminate negative cash flow for the month of January of this year.
Second.
Anyone need any further explanation of this?
I'm just wondering if they have to approve it once we request it, right?
That is my understanding, yes.
If they don't approve it, then we're just we just pay it. Is that correct?
They don't. They confirm it. They don't necessarily approve it. The fund is already set up for this type of an expenditure,
Okay.
and this amount is what the community foundation annually will tell us that's available for playhouse operations, whether it's new lighting gels, operations, carpet cleaner. So this is what's available to cover that negative cash flow.
Okay, thank you.
Just throw out my 2 cents that I always throw out when it comes to anything about the playhouse. And I don't know how long we're gonna keep throwing money at taxpayers' dollars at bailing the playhouse out when it loses money continuously.
This is not taxpayers' money. These are donations that people have submitted to the Bloomdahl Fund.
If the Bloomdahl Fund does not approve it, it's taxpayer money.
It might come back at some point in time. It has in the past where the city council has agreed to use general fund dollars for the playhouse. This will, and again, they don't necessarily approve it. We make the request, they're obligated to release the funds.
Is it a special fund within the Edna Bloomdale Fund?
Yes, there's actually 2 funds set up at the Community Foundation for the Playhouse. One is an operational and one is a capital.
Was she a supporter of the Playhouse? I'm just trying to think if she's still alive.
No, they have both long passed away, but yes, there was donations, I guess seed money, if you will, that came from their estate.
Okay. We have a motion and a second?
Yep.
Roll call, please.
Sittenga,
Yes.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Kabala,
Yes.
Brown,
No,
Salter.
Yes. Resolution 2408 is approved. Next up is resolution 2409, legal services.
make a motion to accept 2409 as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Questions? There's not. Roll call, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Kabala,
Yes.
Sittenga,
Yes.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
and Salter.
Yes. Resolution 2409 is approved.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
Enjoy working with you
He
all.
gets to keep his job.
There you go.
Next is a public comment for anyone. Yes, sir.
From Sears, Staple Road. Just like to make a comment on, I'm gonna read something short here. On November 28, 2023, Governor Whitmer signed into law 2 bills, Public Acts 233 and 234 of 2023, that will preempt townships and other local governments from control over the siting of certain renewable energy, wind, solar, and battery storage facilities. These new laws replace local control with state-controlled statutory framework and grant new siting authority over these facilities through the Michigan Public Service Commission. In response to this, to these laws that were passed, the Citizens for Local Control, which is a group that has gotten together, states that in November 23 they passed a local ordinance. The new law forces local communities to go through the state when it comes to the zoning authority for utility-scale wind and solar projects. Following this legislative action, a group of bipartisan grassroots individuals came together to take back the voice of local communities and launch a statewide ballot campaign, Citizens for Local Choice. This is a broad coalition of people that have gotten together. They have approved ballot language, and the ballot or the signatures sheets are out now. If anybody's interested in signing those, I can tell you where those would be available. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. I certainly do support local control.
Yes. 87% do. Oh, may I, Mr. Mayor? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
That doesn't include installations under 50 megawatts. So it doesn't eliminate that whole thing. If it's a lower than 50 megawatt installation, local control still applies. Okay.
Anyone else would like to?
I do have one thing I forgot about. I attended Fetch last week, had the community fund or community foundation in. I went over and spoke to them and talked to them. It would be nice to glean what information they found out. They talked to the community members as they came up and found out what they like and what they dislike and everything else. It'd be nice to get some information back from them.
Anyone else? I would like to address your issue of the parks. I believe our parks are very well maintained. I don't know what you're seeing that I'm not seeing as far as our parks not being maintained. I think with the DPW that we have, I think they do a great job for us. As far as the pocket park, I think it's something that the public, I would love to hear more from the public, because if this community doesn't want that, then I don't think we should be spending that kind of money in that direction. But I think we certainly need more input from the community.
So how are we supposed to let you know? You send a survey in our water bills or what?
Well, you know, I've had people ask me, well, I want a dog park. I want this, I want that. I said, get a list of 100 people. Get 100 people to sign a piece of paper that says, we don't want this. That means something. I'm certainly not discounting your views, but when we got 2 people that show up and say, I don't want that, that's 2 people. I would love to hear from 100 people, 200 people. The more people we hear from, the better choices that we can make for this community. But if we don't hear from them, we're just going on what information we've received from ourselves and from the developers and the staff. So more public input is always good.
What could we have in the past, the planning sessions that you spoke of? I went to one of those.
The goals, that would be the goal session.
Is that once every 3 years? Can you do it every year or whatever?
We
Once
do
every
them.
2 years, say?
We do them every 2 years.
Okay. Is there one coming up this year then?
Yeah, we do it following a general election of the city council, so we'll try and put something together for March or early April so that we can get those goals. Like I said earlier, we would have those goals established as we go into the budget process.
At the one that I was at, whatever time it was ago, 2 years, I don't remember anything about the pocket park in there. Was that in there?
I don't know if it was, but you have to keep in mind that the Tax Increment Finance Authority has a level of autonomy, and that they have a plan, and the pocket park, repaving downtown parking lots, the West Kobe. There's a number of items that they have felt was in the best interest of their district as well as the community.
But did they ask the community?
Well, keep in mind that you're elected and you appoint people to represent the views and the opinions of the community. Not everything that we do is based upon a poll or a survey of the community. I mean, it's the democratic process. Those elected represent those who elected them.
We also had a number of discussions during the downtown redevelopment. We took a full look at the downtown, and Steve, I think you weren't part of the committee, but you were on board when we did that.
I was on the committee.
You were on the committee, and we actually visited different areas of the downtown, looked at the parking lots and different things. But our downtown, just all the small downtowns are struggling, and so we're trying to do what we can to make sure that it's a destination. And certainly wanting to know the opinions of the businesses down there as well. So I think the other piece of this, Scott, is a lot of the planning, and sometimes it seems like it just kind of pops up, but it's been kind of talked about for a while, and part of some of our plans. I would encourage people to look at the master plan too. Part of the challenge I find with just having a goal session and having people say, what do you want to do, is we have a master plan that basically is supposed to be our vision, and then our vision is implemented by, our zoning ordinances and things like that. So it's a process. So if you come and offer something that's a good goal, I mean, certainly it would be considered, but we do want to, as much as possible, kind of look to the vision that we've developed and that we probably revise every 5 years.
I would get, what you're saying about the parks being maintained well and all that, I would differ a little bit on that. We were talking earlier tonight about G-Park. G-Park doesn't look all that great. We talked about having bathrooms out at the place that we can't replace, out at Funnel Park. We've got a fish platform that's been roped off for at least a year. Somebody was telling me it was a lot more than that. We got
That's not a matter of
goose
maintenance.
problems.
That's a matter of permits.
Okay, the platform.
That's not,
The
city's
platform is
not,
a problem.
it's not that they're not taking care of it. The city is taking care of it. The city is working diligently to get grants and funding to replace that. The holdup is above our heads.
Okay, so that's the fishing platform. But again, we've got
G-Park what's wrong with G-Park?
I think it looks kind of ratty myself.
I disagree with you. I think it looks great.
We're talking about putting a fence up there so that people don't encroach. We got bathrooms out at Funnel Park that are not functional. We don't have a bathroom at the Goodrich Park. We got a goose problem at Goodrich Park. You can't walk on the sidewalk there some of the year because of all the goose crap and everything. I would disagree. I would call it we could try the spinners. We could try. There's some different things that you could try.
Shotgun.
You got. I think of these people that are down there with their kids, and their kids are wandering around, and maybe they fall forward and goose stuff, and the goose crap leaves salmonella. bacteria, which hangs around for a long time.
It's a lake-wide issue. The
Right.
Montague Beach has a real problem with it too. I'm not quite sure what the answer is. If you go over to Maple Beach, yeah, that's a shame, because that's one of our nice, local
Right.
public beaches. I would be open to solutions to that. I think we've had the spinners at times, haven't we?
Not aware
That
we
kind
have.
of scare them away.
We worked at the little park at Tannery, the little beach at Tannery Bay pretty well.
I think we've done something, but it's not an easy solution.
Well, I know.
And it's all a process. When I first came on the council, Scott will tell you, I wanted everything now. It doesn't work that way. You have to downshift, and I didn't want to, and I learned to, because that's what has to happen because of the permit process and all the processes that got to happen with budgets and everything else. If we had a money tree, it'd be great. I gave you my blue book. I'd love to put everything in that book in this town, but I can't.
Look at the boardwalk down by, what's the name of that park? Down by the Coons,
Lions Park.
Lions Park. You know, that's been roped off at times too. I think it is fixed now, the part that was roped off. But
And again,
that's not very well
And
maintained.
again, it's a process and it's a slow process.
You know, I mean, I just disagree a little bit with
We never did remove it.
stating that our parks are all taken care of.
Right.
My opinion.
I said, I think they're doing a very good job for what we have to work with.
But here we are, we don't have enough to work with that, but we want to put in more parks. The pocket park.
You're talking two different funds. You have to realize there's different funds for different things. That's how government works. I know you're new to this.
Oh, I
You
understand.
need like Tammy said, this government 101 is good. It's good for the people to learn how things work too. It's good for all of us to learn more how things work. Until such time as we're all seasoned experts.
When Tifa puts a new park or a new structure or something in place, are they paid to maintain it? They're not, are they?
Of course they are.
They're paying for the maintenance on it? Or does that become a city maintenance issue?
It's, the Public Works Department maintains all city facilities, and Tifa does reimburse for downtown maintenance.
They do reimburse, okay.
Well, they don't reimburse, they have their separate fund. And as the guys put in their timesheets, if they put that they worked 5 hours in the downtown on something, then that gets billed to the Tifa. Same as if they're on a major street, local street, water, sewer, playhouse, they all get properly accounted for.
When we sit down and discuss the budgets, you'll have a great opportunity to see how each bucket, we have to put money in each bucket, and that's what you got to spend. It's like you would do at your own home. Spend money for groceries here, insurance there, whatever. Taxes, you know, so.
I'm going the other way, it's shrinking.
Okay. Anybody got anything else they wanna say? All right, we're adjourned.